You are so cute. Like you are the
Hey,
cutest.
everyone. All right. So last week, I jumped on live on YouTube and I shared with you guys that I was not okay. Okay. And that video seemed to do really well. Maybe because a lot of people are not okay. I got amazing comments from the women who watched. I got supportive comments and it was amazing. I am live right now on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Apparently, all the technology decided to work. And today we are talking about perimenopause, okay? Mood management, midlife, and all of the beautiful nutritional and supplemental and all the old ways that we can support ourselves. So if you are interested in this, hit the like button and follow. And if you're new here or if you're true here, my name is Roshini. I am a special needs mom. I am a healing journey coach for Black and West Indian women, and I am a Black woman healing. That means that I make humor filled healing spaces so other Black women can heal too. And tonight I have a guest with me who I reached out to like on high alert. So, welcome to the channel Nutritionist of
Yes.
Necessary Nutrition,
Thank
Robin Muhammad. Yay!
Yay.
Yay!
Thank you so much
Okay,
for
Robin, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. So I am Robin. I am a nutritionist. This is my 16th year, and I help women over 40 get their nutrition in order and also help us reduce symptoms and concerns related to the pause. So perimenopause and menopause. That is my specialty for a number of reasons. And one of them is because I am in the pause. And there's just so much that we don't know and that we need to know, especially as Black women. Y'all got to make sure you stay locked in, because I really am going to share with you some things that we can do food wise and beyond food that sometimes we are not told.
That
So
is
we're
so
going
powerful. Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, if you are watching whatever platform you are on, drop a pineapple in the chat and let me know where you are watching from. Okay, let me go over last week. So last week, I was not okay. Robin, do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I decided to go live because as a Black woman healing and as a coach for Black women healing, I value authenticity. It would have been
Mm-hmm.
a lot easier for me to just be like, I'm not going live. I'm not going to show anybody this version of me. However, 4 to 5 hours after I was live, I got my period and all of a sudden I felt better. So that took me down a rabbit hole
Mm-hmm.
because before that, and in the days prior to that, and I've noticed over the past few months, there has been a huge, noticeable shift in my mood and my energy before I get my period. I mean, just ground shaking. Not only that, I have gone and made appointments with my primary care physician, who is, to her words, informed about perimenopause and menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And I have even seen my OBGYN's nurse practitioner, who is a perimenopausal woman. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
even with both of those appointments and both of me, those times with me reaching out, I
Mm-hmm.
really didn't get much in the way of relief, which
Okay.
culminated in last week, me just feeling like my brain had shut off. I was in a pit of despair and I could not get my thoughts. Like, I literally felt like I could not access my executive functioning.
Yes, ma'am. I
So,
understand.
with all of that in mind, you can see why I reached out to Robin,
Yeah.
because the minute that I noticed that there was a hormonal trigger,
Yes.
and being a Caribbean woman, I am super into behavioral interventions,
Yeah.
supplemental and nutritional interventions before I go with medicines.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to invite you on to talk to my audience about what we can do. So, first, you can go ahead and how did you get into this as a topic of interest?
Oh, well, I got into the topic as a topic of interest because I became the topic of interest. So I started as a nutritionist. It's like it's evolutionary with my life. So when I started as a nutritionist, I'm just about 50. I started close to when I was 30 when I had my daughter. And my whole thing was, at that time, I was pre-diabetic, overweight, and I didn't know how to feed my daughter. So I was started to focus on food just so I could learn what to do with her. And then it took me on a healing journey. And I realized then that food will either kill you or keep you alive. Now, I wasn't perimenopausal then. I was 30 in the prime of my life. All was well. But as time went on, I got older, and then so did my clients. I want to tell you my personal story so that everyone can know that you're not alone, and all kinds of things are happening in our bodies, and they may even seem so unrelated to this hormone journey. As we age, I'll come back to my story, but as we get growner and sexier, our hormones are fluctuating. And even though we still have cycles, this journey starts in our 40s, sometimes in our late 30s for some of us, but it can be a roller coaster of feelings and just chaos sometimes. And I don't think people talk about it enough in terms of what exactly the results look like or the symptoms look like. So a couple of years ago, so I'm 49 today. I'll be 50 in 5 minutes, basically. A couple of years ago, I know, Black don't crack. And I said that to you.
God.
Yeah, I was
Happy birthday.
you in a little bit. It'll be a few months down the road. But I remember two things happened. I was sitting on my couch 2 years ago, and my heart started just like fluttering, palpitating. Now, I had heard about the symptoms, and if I hadn't known or hadn't started working with this, I would have thought I was having like a heart attack, honestly. So my heart was fluttering, and I didn't understand that. So I like, okay, I know I'm in perimenopause. That's okay. Though some months down the road, I started getting panicky, and my blood pressure would shoot up high, and I ended up in the emergency room. So how that went is that my brain gets afraid of things that I never would have been afraid of, or actually should be afraid of. I'm not as resilient. So as a person, I get very anxious, and it's like I cannot control it. My brain just is, it's like it's my brain, and I want to tell it to stop that, but it won't stop that. So my blood pressure shot up so high that as I said, I ended up in the ER because what happened was it was a little bit high. And I was at the dentist office, and they told me, "Oh, your blood pressure is a little bit high." And then my mind said, "Oh my gosh, you're dying. How could your blood pressure be high? You're a nutritionist. You eat well." Like my brain just started going. And then the more that they would take it, the more it would go up and up. And eventually I was in a full panic. And they said, we can't clean your teeth because your blood pressure is so high. And so my brain kept saying, "I'm dying. You can't even clean my teeth because of my blood pressure." And it just spiraled and spiraled and spiraled and spiraled. So I'm on the outside looking at me, the me that I used to control, to calm down, could not. And so to this very day, if I see a blood pressure cup, if I see a dentist, if I see anybody in a white coat, if you talk about blood pressure, I will start getting panicky in my gut, in my stomach. And right. And it's not depression, but it's a mood. It's an anxiety. So this perimenopause comes with mood changes and shifts because our estrogen is a protector. And as we are aging, we have, in some cases, less of it, or it's not balanced. Therefore, it's not protecting us. So it is leaving us open to these exciting or non-exciting happenings. And we might think it's only me, I'm crazy, or that something is just absolutely wrong with us. And it's not everybody goes through the same experiences. It can show up as depression. Depression is a known true sign of the pause. So the mood swings. I could cry sometimes. I'm like, what? Like something like, why am I crying about that? Like intuitively, I know, okay, that's what? That's I'm sensitive. I'm sensitive. I'm not as resilient, and I forget stuff all the time, right? It's like that brain fog. You're just like, what were we talking about? So that's real. So those that are listening, if you can relate, I maybe put something down in the chat, but know that it's not just you. And I promise you, we're going to talk about what can you do about it. That's the most important thing. With Black women, we have it worse, rougher than others. The pause hits us, it lasts longer, it's more severe. And also, again, we're strong Black women. We're starting to talk about it, but we just maybe keep it inside. And Roshini, the fact that you were saying that you letting people know you're not okay is really helping other people say, you know what, Devin, I ain't okay either. And what can I do about it? So thank you for letting me share my story. And I like sharing my story because it actually it helps me to know, because I really was in tears saying, what is wrong with me? I used to be, this is the other thing we say, I used to be this person. Now I'm this person. And what I'm understanding is the person that I used to be, she's gone. I'm the me now. And the me
Mhm.
now gets anxious. I was literally actually today. So my cycle is somewhere. And right before our live, I was sleepy. Why am I sleepy? I slept all night. Why am I sleepy? Just sleepy, just lethargic, part of it. Sitting on the couch watching television. And all of a sudden I started shaking. I was like, why are you shaking? I'm like, these damn hormones, they should have me shaking. I don't know. I'm just anxious. I'm sitting here watching TV, and whatever's on that TV is telling my body, my brain, it is upsetting me. And it's doing it without my permission.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I have so many questions.
got it.
The first thing I want to say aloud is,
Hmm.
okay, so I don't know how much you know about my story, so I'll just tell you a little bit. I
Okay,
have a major depressive disorder diagnosis. I've had it for 2 decades.
got
I
it.
also have a PTSD diagnosis, okay?
Okay, okay.
So, a lot of what you described
Hmm.
was my normal. So the
Mm,
first thing I think to myself is, gosh, imagine people actually live without feeling like that.
mm,
So my baseline is what you described, my
mm,
baseline. And so the increased version of it
mhm.
is out of control. Like that's part of why I was like, what is going on right now?
Yes.
All of the things. The other thing I want to point out that I think is so interesting to me is I know so many perimenopausal Black women who
Mhm.
have gone to speak to their OBGYN and or primary care physician and are now on antidepressants. It's
Right.
it's to the point that it's I just not only are they either on it or the PCPs and or OBGYN has recommended it. And
Mhm.
so because and the symptoms that they tend to share with me are the brain fog, are
Yes.
the feeling anxious, are the inability to get their words, their thoughts together, feeling like they're out of their body and all these things. And most of them, and I'm talking about like lots. It's I think because Robin, I have spoken about mental health and depression, et cetera, on the internet for over a decade and a half. And I
Okay.
think my audience is aging with me. And what
Mhm.
my audience, and so the people who weren't experiencing any of this 10, 15 years ago, a lot of
Mhm.
them are coming to me now and saying, wait, you used to talk about this. I'm
Yeah.
on antidepressant. Like they're telling me their story, and all of us are in this like perimenopausal world. So it
Yeah.
almost seems like not only is it a common thing happening to so many women, but it feels like the way that traditional medicine treats it is to give you an SSRI, basically.
You
Because
know,
usually I'm nosy when they tell me they're doing it. I'm like, what they gave you? And I'm looking it up and I'm like, they just hit them with the depression medication
you know,
and that's it.
yeah,
Which is why I really want to talk to you about food and stuff because, like I told you, I am a person because of my own story, and I've had like negative experiences with
mhm,
synthetic drugs and stuff that
yeah.
I always go behavioral, nutritional, supplemental first.
Yes, and that's a part of it. It's a stair step, and we'll definitely get into it. I want to say this also for me when I was having, and I still have those feelings. They wanted to put me on a blood pressure medication, and I'm like, okay, my blood pressure, because when they would see me, they don't know that I'm a nutritionist. They're like, watch your salt and do all these things, and I'm like, okay. And then they're like, I'm going to put you on a blood pressure medication. And I'm like, my blood pressure actually is only high because of panic, but that's here nor there. They wanted to put me on a blood pressure medication. They wanted to put me on an anti-anxiety medication as well.
Mhm.
And that's just the answer. That could maybe help, but that's not the root cause. That's not how we got there. And we Black women and women across the country, you can't just keep giving us antidepressants because then that does a whole nother thing to the body. There's other things that could be done, should be done, but there are women that decide that antidepressants really is what they're needing to do. We're also different, and there's no judgment because
Mhm.
sometimes you're just like, I just need this to go away, and I don't have the time or the wherewithal to be doing all this other food and all this other stuff. Like, I just need this feeling to fix itself. So, I mean, if that's okay, that's okay. I have a friend also who's gone through before me the whole anxiety and panic attacks and heart palpitations and depression and all of that. And to this day, she's been dealing with for 10 years. She hasn't gone on the prescribed, but there are supplements that I'll name one. It's called GABA. And this is the thing. I'm going to talk about some supplements, but these I'm mentioning to you just so that you can look up GABA. It's a neurotransmitter and it's natural. So there's natural supplements that we can take. I want to make sure I get this information out in order. I'm going to back up because I want to tell you about food. I want to tell you about supplementation. And then I also then want to talk about hormones and how we have to, what are our options for actually dealing with that? Because it is true that food is super important, but the food is not going to restore what is lost. It will help. Exercise will help because remember we're declining, right? Our estrogen and testosterone and they're all doing some willy-nillys. It's not going to stop because you ate a carrot. Like it's just not. But the food helps us. So as we're aging, our body, because of the estrogen, our estrogen is an antioxidant, so it's a protector. So the food that we eat becomes very much more important to help us stay away from chronic disease. So I am, like I said, I'm going to give you all some foods, like some must-have foods in your diet. You do your food. You We'll talk about exercise. That ain't my expertise, but we'll talk about it. And then I'll talk about some supplements that are super important. And then we're going to end with we've done all that. And then what do we need to do for when we go to our primary, our OBGYN, what do we need to say to them? Or who do we actually need to see to help us with that? Because with us, sometimes we're going in the wrong provider, asking them to solve something that's not their area of expertise. So I promise you, we'll talk about that. Let me jump into the food so that I can just stay orderly. But do you have any questions about anything before I?
No, go ahead. One of the things I do want to say before you start is
Mhm.
um, if you are unaware, audience, so we have estrogen receptors throughout our entire body. And a
Mm,
lot of us are not educated on that because we only learn the stereotypical information about what estrogen is for.
mhm,
However, as your egg count starts to drop,
mhm.
you produce less estrogen. And
Yeah,
your body has estrogen receptors throughout your whole body. They're in your brain, they're all over the place. And what that means is you have less estrogen in your system for your body to
mm,
access. And
yep,
that's part of what's going on in this
correct.
time of life. See, I know this stuff. That don't
Yeah,
mean that just listen, just because I know it don't mean that I wasn't crashing and burning. Okay, Robin, I was thrashing about. But I
I
just
knew
want
it
people
too, and
to
I
know.
still was like,
Yeah, we think that it only has to do with like reproductive organs and that's
"Yeah,
it. But it
yep,
is literally throughout our whole body. So
that's
imagine having an internal source of estrogen that the receptors can then pick up and use when you're younger. And now, as
mm,
you get older, that ability, the receptors are still there. They still want the
mhm, yeah,
but you don't have the ability to provide the
yeah,
amount that you
no,
need. So with
correct.
that information, go for it. Tell us what you know. Food.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yes, I will tell you, but when you said that, it's like hence the brain fog, like the brain isn't getting what it used to. All of those things are
Mhm.
as a result of this estrogen not being how it used to be. That is all true. Okay, so with the food, let me just back up and say that no matter who you be, where you are on this journey, what you eat is so important to building your body and having your body having the ability to heal. There are certain foods that are useful for with our estrogen. So I'm going to give you 5, maybe 6 foods that I recommend that you include in your diet daily. Now you might say, I don't, some of them mention you, man, I don't like that. So there's several foods. And I think at least you'll like one of these foods, right? Because all of them help with balance in some ways, helping us to take out the excess. They act as, like in some cases, phytoestrogen. So plant-based, estrogen-rich foods. It's just to support our body in what it is doing. All right, so in no particular order, cruciferous vegetables. So broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, which I love cauliflower, are helpful to you. If you listen to this, you'll say, oh, I could make a big old salad with these ingredients that Robin mentioned. So as you go to the grocery store on a daily, put these in your cart. I love to say what to eat versus what not to eat because that's a whole nother conversation. But let's just talk about what to include. So cruciferous vegetables, that's one. Either broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. Then you want your leafy greens. Critical. Leafy green, it's the phytonutrients in these plants is going to serve your body in so many ways. So leafy greens could be your Swiss chard, it could be arugula, leafy green. So big leafy every day. So big salad. Think about that. Another one is, oh, this is fun, I think, dark chocolate, but 70% or higher cocoa or cacao. 70, so it's the bitter kind. It'll do good things to you, but what it won't do is make you want to keep eating it because it's bitter. So it has an effect on our body in a positive way, but then it's like you don't want to necessarily keep eating it. Like if you eat potentially milk chocolate or eat anyway, I just want to eat more and more and more. Dark chocolate will light up that brain, maybe not the taste buds as much. So dark chocolate, I eat dark chocolate every day, and I just have a like a I have a big bar and I take a square off of that bar every day. Today I had 2 squares because I really want chocolate cake if I'm being honest, but I'm like, let me just eat this dark chocolate bar. Another one, fatty fish. So if you eat fish, it'll be your salmon, your mackerel, those omegas, so important for our brain, for our joints, but really for our brain. The omegas work with that fatty fish, the omegas, the essential fatty acids help our brain. So I don't know what I would be if I wasn't the person that I am today with all the emotions and the angst, and I eat these things, I can only imagine if I didn't eat these things, who I would really be. The other one that I want to tell you about are flaxseed. Flaxseed is a phytoestrogen and it really does help to balance us out. With the flaxseed, you want to have them ground and you want to keep them in your refrigerator. You can put these on that big old salad you can make with these leafy greens and this cruciferous, and you can even put some dark chocolate in your salad and fatty fish. You can make a big salad with the flaxseed, a tablespoon or two. I make a smoothie every morning and I put them in my smoothie, and that's how I get it in. It helps the bowels. It helps, again, with our estrogen balance. There's so many foods that I could share with you. At the end, I'll tell you I do classes that are more in depth and give you a whole list of the foods, but those are just a few that you would want to include. I didn't mention avocado. Avocado is another one that is useful for this, our hormones. It has good fiber, it's good fat. So having an avocado a day, a small avocado, is good for you. If it's a big one, then half of that. But those are some foods that are useful. So your vegetables, I'm just going back, your leafy greens, your cruciferous, flaxseed, fatty fish, avocado, dark chocolate. My brain is working now because I just was able to rattle off that list without.
Okay, Robin, would you believe me if I told you that I've eaten all those things today except the fish?
That is good.
Because I'm intentional, okay? I'm trying to tell y'all, your girl is trying to not be off. I literally, the
Yes.
smoothie, like you said, the
Mhm.
smoothie had massive amounts of spinach, and the
Yeah,
flax seeds and the avocado were in the smoothie right before this,
that's the
right?
best
And a little
one.
bit of cashew butter and some other like a couple
Yes,
other stuff.
ma'am. You
And
got to
then
be
before,
intentional.
yeah. And
You
I
have
love
to.
Brussels sprouts. I eat
Me
Brussels
too.
sprouts that like a
Me
lot.
too. Brussels sprouts and cabbage. This is the thing, when you said the word intentional, we have to be intentional because before I knew, I didn't know. And I wasn't making sure that I had certain foods every day. I just ate them if I felt like it in my
Mhm.
30s, right? But in my about to be 50s, I'm like, no, I need cruciferous vegetables every day. I need my leafy greens. I need all of this every day, whether I feel like it or not, because it's for my greater good. It's not
Exactly.
optional.
And that
Yeah.
okay, so let me say this. What happens with me is I'm so sensitive. Like it's almost exhausting to me to have to
Mhm.
be as intentional as I am. But
Mhm.
the reason why I am the way I am is because when I am not, I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
I immediately, like I said, my baseline is depressed. My baseline is anxiety. And
Yeah.
that is physiology and also environment and trauma, right? So
Correct.
over the years, a lot of the things that you're talking about, I was like, I have to talk to her because even
Yeah.
when you said it, like I wrote down what you said and I was just like, okay, I need to put my flax seeds in the fridge. Like, I
Yeah.
just bought some new ones, and I was like, "I need to put those in the fridge." So I'm like,
Mhm.
"She's gonna help me tweak," but
Yeah.
the way that my system specifically is set up, when
Mhm.
I stop being intentional,
Yeah.
I fall off. And now with this new increased hormone version of me, I have to be.
Yeah.
Like, I told myself, I was like last week, I was like, "You have to do the things you know what to do. Like, you're
Yeah.
do not do them." And I just had to be like, make your smoothie, make sure you have your like
Yeah.
intentionally because I'm finding that as I age, it's off to the races. It can go
Yeah.
like that in 2 seconds flat.
I think about my blessing of being a nutritionist, which is not what I thought that I would do with my career. I went to college initially for something else. And I think it was just meant, well, it was meant to be because you teach that which you need to learn. And because I'm a nutritionist, like me going over this list, like I'm reminded, oh yeah, get your avocado and get your, like, I can't not do these things because I'm talking about it all the time. But if I weren't, I would maybe not think about it because it's helpful. So that nutrition is the foundation. Those are the foods. And so I the foods that take away from us, I think I'm gonna say we know if it's fried foods, if it's sugar, if it's the foods that they're trying to give us all the time. The foods that the world is, when you turn on the TV, they're trying to advertise or you see everywhere. Those are the foods that take away from us actually mentally. There are certain chemicals in food. This is the part that is just like blows my mind, that you can eat a certain food and it will chemically alter who you are. And it's hidden in things that you wouldn't even just maybe think that they're in there. So when we're eating the chips, which when we're having our cycles or when we're going through these hormonal things, maybe we want to eat emotionally. Maybe we're eating, like I'm telling you, today I was craving chocolate cake. I really wanted chocolate cake. Really bad. I still do right now. But there's just, it's like this desire, but I have to talk back to myself. Actually, I'm gonna eat some more dark chocolate. That's what I'm gonna do. But it's, we eat these foods, it does something to our brain, and then we're off to the races. And that's when I said about being intentional about what you actually eat. And there is a time to give in to our cravings. There really is. But just know that the food that's available to us and widely marketed to us is working against us. I am not all plant-based. I just eat a lot of plants because I understand it, the benefit of it. I didn't say about protein, but I do want to say, and I mentioned salmon, but what I want everyone to know when you're that are listening, when you eat a carbohydrate, so a piece of bread, a piece of fruit, pasta, rice, you also want to have a carbohydrate with that, because without so the protein, you want, when you have a carbohydrate, you want to have a protein. When you have that protein source, it slows down what the carbohydrate does in your body. Without the protein, the carbohydrate can go into your bloodstream, and raise your blood sugar very quickly. With that protein, it's a slower release. That helps us with our blood sugar and so much more, even with our weight. So when you have a carbohydrate, you want to marry it with a protein. So chicken, fish, turkey, tofu, eggs, tempeh, protein source, even a protein powder. So protein for us, as in this age, we need that protein for our muscles and our, just all the things. It's just all working together. Before I move on from just the brief part about the nutrition, and again, there's classes that I do, and I also have a YouTube channel where I'm always doing content about that. Are there any questions that you have, or that I should just go over before I talk about supplementation? And then the last part of this is, what the heck do we do with our doctors, and who should we be talking to?
No, I will jump in with my questions, but if you are watching and you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comment section and we will go back and make sure that Robin can answer. And also, I'm dropping her YouTube channel link in the comment section. I'll drop the link to her website where you can find out more about the free classes. All that information is in the information box if you're watching live or on the replay. All right, you guys. So I would love to hear more now about, well, before we go to supplementation, I want to ask a question about food, because
Yes.
you are a very intentional eater. Clearly, you're a nutritionist who ended up here out of necessity. I am a
Mhm.
very intentional eater. I am not a nutritionist, but I also
Mhm.
ended up with what I put in my body out of necessity. I'm
Mhm.
also a person who is very aware of, I'm like a case of one with myself. I
Mhm.
don't know if I could tell other people what to do, but like I'm very aware of how my body responds to certain things. You know what I mean? If I
Yes.
go and I travel and I say I'm gonna eat a piece of cake, a piece of sushi, or something or the other, I know 30 minutes from now what to expect.
Mhm.
Okay. I
Same.
know what's going to give me a headache. I know what's going to make me depressed. I know. And then I have to weigh that, you know? And a
Uh,
lot of times, I will, or like a glass of wine or something. Often, where I am right now, and I don't know if anybody watching this feels the same way, I will often look at a piece of food and decide whether or not I want to feel that way.
Yeah.
Because I am very aware
I love it.
that if I eat this sushi, I'm about to get leg cramps. Or if I drink this glass of wine, I'm about
Yep.
to be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I will look at the food, or you know what I mean, and be like, but do I want that? And
Do I want
oftentimes that has been the catalyst for removing foods that specifically behave that way in my body.
to? Yeah. You know what I like? I like to just look at people eating the foods that I wish I would eat, but I know I'm not because of how it's going to behave. I love for people to talk to me about it. I will listen. I fantasize, but I won't eat it. And it's somewhere along the way, it's satisfactory to me because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I eat in my mind that I don't eat in my physical because I'm listening to other people eat it. And it's true. There are some foods that if I eat it, I'm going to be in the bathroom or I'm going to feel just nasty. There's just some, I'm just like, ugh. And then sometimes I
Mhm.
forget and I'm like, why did I eat that? Like I forgot at the moment. Like long term, I'm like, girl, what? You know
Well, you
what
just
this
said
does.
chocolate cake. I don't know what's going on with me because you just said chocolate cake. And listen, I am a lover of chocolate cake. The minute
Mhm.
you were like, I really want chocolate cake, I want chocolate cake, all my brain was thinking is joint pain, depression, and headaches.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah.
And when I
And
look at the chocolate cake now, because
mhm.
I'm that person that's like so aware, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not about to get got. Like,
Yeah. I understand
I will literally look at stuff like that and be like,
that.
I'm
I
gonna get
understand.
got. Do I
You know,
want
it's
to have
funny. I was laying in bed, I was thinking about the chocolate cake, and I'm like, but you know your stomach's gonna hurt. You know it's gonna make you feel shaky. And you know,
that?
and then I said, okay, what's the alternative to that? Because this you want that. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna go get another piece of my bar of dark chocolate.
Mhm.
Or now I don't even know, I didn't think about it. I can just make a chocolate smoothie
Yeah,
that I
I put chocolate, that's what I was saying, the chocolate was in the smoothie. It's a
yeah.
weird flavor, but I figured it out one day when I went to Smoothie King and I got a dough from them, and I was like, "What is in this smoothie?" And so
Mhm.
it was weird. It was like chocolate, berries, peanut
Mhm.
butter, a bunch of greens, and like, I was like, "This is a bizarre taste." Actually, it's kinda growing on me. So that's why I
Yeah.
said I've had everything on the list that you listed today except the fish.
Because you can have the craving, and it's the thing, your body is, oh, I want this. I want chocolate or I want salt or whatever it is. And then there's a workaround. And then your body's like, oh, I didn't need that thing. I just needed the satisfaction of it. So when and I really am, when we're done here, I'm gonna go make me a chocolate smoothie because that's what I'm gonna do. And I'll put my flaxseed in there and put all the good stuff in there. And it's like a win-win because I'm like, okay, I'm satisfied and I did a good thing for my body. But I play mental gymnastics about it all the time because in my mind was like, girl, you know you want some chocolate cake. It's like the one on my shoulder and another person on my shoulder fighting. This is what you want. You don't need it. That whole thing. But it's I think with our minds, I've learned to talk back to myself because it's like the voice of reason and then the voice of not reason, and they're both in my brain fighting for my attention, and I literally have to say like, okay, no. You be quiet, like you don't know what you're talking about, like I hear you but you're not trying to help me, and I have to say it out loud, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. It's
Yeah,
intentional.
that's what I mean by
Yeah,
like, but do you want to have depression, a headache, and joint pain tomorrow?
yeah, you have
It's
to
like a
ask.
talking to myself. Okay, we have a question about food, so let's touch on this question and then we can move on to supplementation. Blue
Yeah.
Isis says, how to manage gas, bloating, discomfort from increasing the veggies in a natural way if possible. What do you
So let me see if
recommend?
I can understand. So let me see if I'm understanding this. You're eating veggies and they're giving you gas. Is that summarizing what I'm understanding? Um, and that does happen. Some of them. It just depends. So it might be the cruciferous ones, like the broccoli or the cabbage, cabbage or what have you. So um, also, do you suggest adding small increments? Yes. So there's a couple of ways to do it, but yes, doing it incrementally. And then my question, and this is kind of off on a tangent, does every vegetable give you gas? Um, that's the one question, but you just want to start slow. And then some of it just is what it is. Like cauliflower gives me gas. And I just tell my husband, hey, yo, this is what we doing tonight. We doing cauliflower gas. Like that's what I'm having that because it's better. The gas is just uncomfortable to the people living with me. But I know the value of the vegetable, but sometimes to our digestive system. That's the other thing. So that's the deeper answer is that our digestive system has some things going on and we need to tend to what's happening in there and eat probiotic rich foods in order to stabilize the gut environment. So answering that question is I could do it, but it's almost individualized because why it's giving you gas may have some things to do with you and what's going on within your gut. So like I know I get cauliflower. Sometimes I get gas, sometimes I don't. It's not that bad. Maybe my husband might think so. But then there's people that if they eat it, this lady told me, this was her quote. She's like, I'm eating this. And this was her quote. She says, it's like a buffalo crawled inside of me and died. I was like, oh goodness, a buffalo crawled inside of you and died? Like that's what comes out is what she said. So it has to do with our gut environment. And that's a deeper question of how we get our gut balanced and managed. But there's a catch-22 with fruits and vegetables because you need them to heal. And sometimes they're the ones that it's bothering your gut, but you need it to heal your gut. So that's how I'm going to answer it, right? Without knowing the person.
Yeah, I was going to agree. If it's an increase in veggies, it really depends. The first thing I would do if I was going to try to self-solve that would be looking into small increments, isolating the vegetables so I know which one is doing what to me, and really being intentional about my prebiotic, like the types of fiber that I'm allowing in my gut, like the prebiotic probiotic situation. I would just slowly pay attention to how each thing was affecting me and then go from there. Because like Robin said, something green can get in there. I mean, if it's disruptive to your life when you eat spinach, then maybe spinach isn't for you. Maybe kale is for you. Just find it. But if you can't go from nothing. Well, you can. If you go from nothing to a giant salad every single day and you're buckled over in pain, take it back and then just start isolating these things. And like she said, maybe you want to work with her or you want to find somebody who can help you get your microbiome, like basically get your gut
in order.
Understanding so you're not just like buckled over in pain or becoming disruptive to every relationship that you're in because okay, so go ahead.
And the other thing too in this perimenopause menopause space, the gut changes, like what we could do before and what we're going to be able to do tomorrow, and the gut environment, it just is changing. That's the fun of all of this.
Fun, Robin, that sucks. Okay. Because the you that used to be able to eat these things, there is a moment in your life. I'm sorry, I got to get this out. I just got traumatized. There is a moment where you eat a food and you realize, okay, my relationship with you has changed. This used to be okay. And your body says, we don't eat that anymore.
And you just like, wait, but and then I'm gonna try it again and again because I used to.
Yeah, you just keep trying it again and again, like it's gonna change its mind. And your whole body is like, yeah, we are 48, and we 48-year-old you don't eat that no more.
There's certain things I could eat. I could eat shrimp before. My body's like, no, you can't, no more. I can't eat shrimp. There's a couple of foods that my body's like, that was the old you, girl. This
rice
is
for me.
New day.
Rice.
And it would just burn my stomach, burn it. Like I was like, why? Like what? Why? Why are you burning? And I was fine. The 30-year-old
me and rice have broken up. Rice decides it wants to give me muscle cramps, and no matter how much I try to solve for it, it's just like, but I'm still gonna do it.
And sometimes you just be like, okay, this isn't for me. My body said it ain't for me, and it ain't for me.
It's not for you anymore. Okay.
Let's talk about supplements, and
then go for it.
We must,
Okay.
because I'm looking at our time, and we must talk about actually dealing with our doctors and our hormones, because that is not going to go away unless we address it. So supplements, I'm going to kind of go through this kind of quickly. I do not take a lot of supplements. I'll tell you what I take, I'll tell you what I recommend, and I'll tell you why. And how the ones that I'm going to mention, I feel like are foundational, and then everything else is to fill in the gaps. So I know that people are going to say, well, what about B12? And what about this vitamin or that? Or the ones I'm going to give you are foundational for us as women in the pause phase. And then we fill in the gaps. We're eating the best we can. We're taking the supplements that I mentioned. And then after that, we fill in the gaps. So D3 with K2 is primary. So hear me when I say this. And I've been studying really vitamin D for the past number of years, especially in Black folks, because like in our body, we have all these estrogen receptors. Vitamin D is a hormone, and it is needed in our bodies to make a whole bunch of things work. And it's also important in our mood. We Black folks are deficient in vitamin D at an alarming rate. So almost 80%, 70 to 80% of us are deficient. So if you heard me just say that most of us are deficient, but you also heard me say that it's important for our body to function, then how are we're not functioning optimally? You also know that we Black folks have the worst of all the things. Our menopause is worse. Our blood pressure is we're worse in all of those categories that we don't want to be. Our vitamin D is lower because one of it is knowledge. The other one is our melanin. That vitamin D comes from the sun. We're not in the sun. And even if we are, our beautiful melanin is a protectant for so many reasons why it keeps us so young looking, right? But it also impedes our ability to effectively assimilate vitamin D into our bodies. There are foods that have vitamin D, but it doesn't move the needle. So salmon and egg yolks, but it doesn't move the needle, meaning that you can eat these foods, but it doesn't raise your vitamin D. Sun does. If you're in the sun, where others could be in the sun for 15 minutes, we have to be in there way more than that to even get half of the benefit. And then depending on where you are in the country, the sun may not even be available. So supplementation is then the number one recommendation. With supplementation, I recommend vitamin D3 with K2, because the K, so we have calcium that's running through our blood from eating dietary calcium-rich foods. And that calcium doesn't know where to go. It needs to go in your bones. And so D helps the calcium, that K puts it into your bones and where it goes, and it takes it away from your arteries. If you've heard of calcification of your arteries, that's calcium going where it's not supposed to go. So when you have the D plus K2, they work synergistically together to get the calcium where it needs to go and make sure that the D is most effective. So vitamin D is good for our gut, our blood sugar, our mood, and so much more. And we're talking about depression and mood and anxiety. Vitamin D is important in that. So if you feel any of these feelings that you don't want to feel, but you know you haven't checked your vitamin D, you know you're not taking vitamin D, you want to include a vitamin D in your routine, like right now. And there's going to be a link in the vitamin D is one of the supplements that I specialize in. So there will be a link to the vitamin D, I believe, somewhere in the show notes. But even if you don't get Necessary Nutrition's vitamin D and you get it somewhere else, you really want to get it. And furthermore, when you go to your doctor, you want to ensure that they check your levels. You may be surprised how low it is. And if it's low, and then you now know it's low, it's a good thing. Now you know it's low, you knew to check it, and now you can rectify that. I've seen life-changing things happen when us as Black women get our vitamin D up to par. And I love when I get calls from women saying, wow, I didn't know, and now I'm taking vitamin D, and these are the results that I'm experiencing. It's an easy deficiency to have. It's an easy deficiency not to have. It upsets me that we are not told enough. It's like a stepchild or something, that we're not being told the importance of vitamin D, and it is not expensive. It's certainly less than prescriptions, and there's no side effects that you may get from prescription. So number one is vitamin D with K2. You wouldn't take the K if you are taking blood thinners or you're on dialysis, because it can interfere with it. So that's the first one, vitamin D3 with K2. The second one would be your omegas. So you get your omegas, your omega-3s from fatty fish. You can get them from walnuts. There's food sources. I always recommend that as well. Like, I recommend doing all these things in food form too. With the omegas, that helps with it's like lubrication for your cells. So if you're driving your car without oil, it's going to break down. You can drive it for so long without oil, and it's going to break down. Your cells are like that. It needs the lubrication. It needs that oil from the omegas in order to work. And you can get it from fish oil. That's the people hear about fish oil. I do a plant source, but you can do a plant-based one, which is sourced through algae, or you can do omegas. There's so much that I could tell you guys. That's why I say just hang with me on the YouTube channel as well, because I do just over time touch on different topics, but sometimes with fish oil, it gets rancid and all those things. So I use a plant-based source, but the omega is the second one. And then the third one is magnesium. And magnesium is another one of those that it's needed in so many functions in our body. Now, food-wise, you can get the magnesium out of dark chocolate. There's really good food sources for our magnesium. But when we stop, when we're in menopause, and that's when our bones really take the hit, that magnesium is really helpful in building that bone up. I caution you with magnesium, however, because if you're taking a magnesium, you definitely want to start slow, because it has a laxative effect, some of them, where it can cause loose stool, and that isn't what you want. But magnesium helps to activate vitamin D. So you need magnesium in order to activate vitamin D and have it to be best served. You can eat magnesium-rich foods. That is true. The supplementation of magnesium, I really, really say to women, if you're done with your bleed, you really then want to get the magnesium in as a supplement for sure, because of the bone support. Magnesium also helps to support us being able to deal with stress and anxiety and in the calming. So I take magnesium myself. I didn't always. I've just recently, probably within the last 6 months, added magnesium because, as y'all heard me say, I'm an anxious so-and-so. And I wasn't always an anxious so-and-so. And when I wasn't an anxious so-and-so, then I didn't take magnesium because I wasn't thinking about that. But I added it to my routine for the calming effect, because I need to be calm. So the D3K2, and in this order, the D3K2, the omegas, and then look into the magnesium for you. I also take fruits and vegetables in a capsule, but that's not like, I don't take a multivitamin. I take encapsulated produce to help me bridge the gap with produce. But the three supplements just that is widely available to everybody is the D3, the omegas, and the magnesium. And then I always want to say, get your blood work checked, because people say, well, what about iron? What about B12? And I say, well, you would take iron only if your iron were low, or there was an issue with your iron, or if you did your blood work and your B12, there was an issue there. So I don't arbitrarily just say, take B12, take iron, take this, take that. Those other ones I do say, those are the ones you want to have on hand all the time. And then get your blood work done to see where else you're deficient, if You are putting the foods in your body regularly that I mentioned, and then your D is in order and your omega is in order, your blood work will look good. Sidebar, the estrogen changing can change your cholesterol. So you could be eating all good, and all of a sudden your cholesterol is going up because that estrogen is a protective and it helps with the cholesterol. And now you don't have it as much, and now your cholesterol is going up. And then somebody might try to put you on a statin. That's a whole nother conversation. And then your blood pressure might be going up because so all these things are happening because our estrogen is going away, and your doctor is going to say, well, give you a statin, give you this, give you that. So now we talked about supplements. So the nutrition, the supplements. And then the third thing is, okay, then what do I do? Because your estrogen ain't coming back just by itself. It ain't. You can eat the good foods. It helps. But over time, it's going to keep going away and going away. And over time, the bones will deteriorate. Those things will happen. So this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. So there are, first of all, you want to have your hormones checked. You want to have your hormones checked because then you know what you're dealing with. What's low, what's high. That's for you to be empowered. So you can say, dang, I don't have any estrogen or, whatever. You want to get it checked. And your primary doctor, depending if you have insurance or what have you, the insurance is sometimes they're an impediment to what you want to get done because they won't check things maybe as thoroughly because they don't pay for it. That's, again, there's so many conversations in here to have. I have insurance, but I also use an integrative OBGYN, but I have to cash pay for that because she's able to run tests at a deeper level than what my traditional insurance is only letting me do. And when she's running the test, she's looking not at just blood, because that's what just a blood test, but she's looking at saliva and dried urine because our hormones are fluctuating differently all day, not just all in one level. With your blood, it'll just show you what it is when they took it. But the urine or the dried urine can show it over time. So I am working with an integrative OBGYN to give me a full picture. Once you get that picture, then you can decide with that person's expertise what you want to do next. If you want to do nothing, or do you want to have some hormonal interventions? That's a personal choice. You got to think about that. That's not my area of expertise. And that's, again, another whole conversation. And within my community, I bring these experts in to have these conversations. But there's bioidentical hormones that match your hormones. And then there are other hormonal interventions that could be achieved by over the counter. There's a lot of things to do, but the most important thing for us is to know what our options are and ask the right questions. And the first question is, okay, I need my hormones checked so I know. Because if you know, then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I do have this brain fog. I do have these headaches. I have difficult concentrating. I have all these things. Like, am I supposed to just live with that all the rest of my life? It ain't gonna stop because the estrogen, it didn't come back. So you have to decide what your plan is in terms of intervention. Again, you could decide to do nothing. You can decide to do something. And the some things, there's a variety of some things that you can do. That ain't my area of expertise. I just work with people that is their expertise, and I learned that from them.
Okay, Robin, first of all, you said a lot, but I want to say this, and everybody turn your ears because this is a conversation between me and Robin by ourselves, okay? Not the whole internet. I might need to get your information to find out more about what my next steps are because I literally, you ready for this? I take D3K2 every day. I
Good.
take an omega-3 fatty acid fish oil supplement that I keep in the refrigerator and I guzzle. Okay. I use magnesium.
Good.
I have all these things. Everything you said I am doing. I went to get tested. I got blood work from the traditional doctors, and they were like, you're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's great.
See,
And so now my next step, I'm thinking, needs to be I need to find a functional medicine practitioner who can do the dried urine and
Yep.
the further test that you were talking about. Because when you were talking about, I was like, that's what I need right there. I need
Yeah.
somebody who can go a little further. Because according to traditional medicine,
You're
I'm
fine.
fine.
Yeah. And
And I
that
am
is,
not. Okay. It's all
yeah.
coming back normal. It's all,
Yeah.
I've done the things. And so one of the things I want everybody listening to this to understand is one, there are things that you can do nutritionally
Yep.
to support you.
Mm-hmm.
There are things you can do behaviorally to support you. There are things you can and should be doing in your supplements to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you do go to your traditional primary care physician and they do your blood work, which is one point in time, like Robin said, blood is one point in time. Things are
Mm-hmm.
fluctuating through the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
People do saliva, people do urine. Like there's more that they can do, but it's not always covered, right? I think
Yeah.
I'm at that point, Robin, because, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I was like, I am doing all the things.
All the
And
things.
yet, oh, girl, I'm doing all of it. And
Yeah.
yet, now the one thing I wasn't doing last week, I will say this, I am highly affected by intentionally moving my body.
Yeah. Mm.
Highly, I hate to have to do it, but I have to. And intentionally getting sunshine. I go and
Yeah.
I sit out in the sun with intention.
Got
And
it.
I also take my walks. And the reason is because this beautiful Virgin Islands melanated skin is not
Mm-hmm.
designed to be in Missouri, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had been slacking on that. And so that in my mind and the hormones is what threw me into the abyss of despair
Yeah.
that I was in, and some situational stuff too. It was just a lot of stuff. So
That's-
a couple things I want to say, and then there is a question in the comments I want to put up. But before I get to her question, so you said you work with people. No, you said something like in your community. Do you
Yeah.
have like what do you have?
Like what's going on? So
Should I be in it? How do I get into it?
so I'll tell you this. So we have a community and it's all women over 40. And as I said, I work with women in the pause. And what we do is we first, it's the nutritional intervention. So when someone is a part of Necessary Nutrition, they first get a comprehensive nutrition plan. And that's the part that I work with. And then we have experts that we introduce you to that are dealing with things like, i.e., frequent urination. We have a pelvic health expert
Mhm.
that comes in and talks. So within the community, within the membership, we have live classes that happen quarterly where you're talking to those experts and being able to talk with them live and ask the questions that you wouldn't be able to ask them or you would have had to pay astronomically to have them do. And so we're just basically guiding you to the right places and showing you like what your next steps are and who could be part of that team. And I have so many experts within the community because not everybody is good for everybody. Like not all people want bioidentical hormones. They want something else. So we have an expert that talks about, okay, I don't want bioidentical hormones. What can I do otherwise? So we're just always bringing those resources. So I'll tell
So
you
do
more
you
about
find out about that on your website?
Yeah, you can. You can find
Okay,
out
that's for
about it.
me, you guys. You guys can start listening again because if you go to, I'm gonna put it in the comment section. If you go to Robin's community and you see me up in there, th- this is not a drill. It's not a drill, girl. I think
And
that's what I need because you are saying all these wonderful things, and I'm like, am I using the D3 and the K2 wrong? Am I magnesium in wrong? Am I now here's the thing. I'm seeing the benefits. Like I am very much a stickler. I magnesium before bed because it gives me like I
yes,
magnesium and probiotic before bed because my
yes,
magnesium probiotic before bed knocks me out. It's
yep.
amazing. It's amazing. And
Just
then it
think
also
about
stops all leg cramps. I used to
yep.
have my family has really bad bedtime leg cramps. It runs in my family. I've actually also stopped my mom's leg cramps because when she came to
Yeah.
visit a few months ago, she was dealing with it and I told her what to
Mhm.
do. And when she went home, she was like, when I do what you tell me to do, I have no leg cramps. She was like, when
Yeah.
I like flake off and I don't do it, I'm up
Yeah.
at night screaming.
And here's the benefit of the hierarchy of what I mentioned, and you said it. It's like you start with the nutrition part, and your body will talk to you, and you'll have this relationship with yourself. You'll know what works. You'll know what doesn't work. If you don't do it step by step, step one being your actual food, step two being the proper supplementation, and then step three, taking a look at those hormones. If you start with the hormones but you didn't start with the food, or if you start with the supplement, because that's what people try to do. They try to take something like, oh, give me a supplement. The food is first, then the supplement. As Roshini said about the magnesium, yes, it helps with calming and sleep and the leg cramps. But if you started somewhere else, you may have not gotten to that in the proper way. So we want to do things in the order.
Yeah, I have a
So
funny story, Robin, and then I'm gonna get to a couple things in the comments. When my
okay.
mom, so I have magnesium in different forms, right? So my
Yes.
mom was here and she was dealing with some leg cramps, and I got my magnesium oil, and I
Mhm.
told her one spray,
Mhm.
rub it in. My
Mhm.
mother, who does not listen, got to spraying it like she was spraying on a perfume.
Oh, wow. Mm.
I grabbed the bottle from her. I said, Mommy, what are you doing? Stop. I said, "You're gonna end up on the toilet all night." But she
Yeah.
did not. She did not. But what
Mm.
she did do is she was wide awake.
Ah.
So the next day she was like, "That stuff you had." I said, "You sprayed it too much. Do not." So I
Mhm.
told her what to do. I was like, "A little bit. One." And that is what has stopped her leg cramps. The pre-bed, like 30 minutes before bed, she does what she does, and she's like, cramps are gone. And I was like, I told you. I told you what to do with your electrolytes. I told you what to do with your water. I told you what to do with your magnesium. I explained to her what was happening in her muscles because of it. So she wasn't just doing it because I told her to,
Yeah, that's
right?
important.
But yes, don't just, y'all, small small incremental changes, and get
Yes.
help from a knowledgeable person if you don't know what you're doing, okay? Because you could really send your body into a tizzy. Okay, first of all, we are over an hour. Do you have a
Yes, I
few
was
minutes to just
just a few
answer
minutes.
some of the
Yes.
questions in the
Yes,
comments?
because I gotta get my chocolate, y'all. I gotta get my chocolate.
Okay, the first one is Black Woman Heal says, do you take estrogen? My answer is I do not at this point. What about you?
And and so my answer is the same. I do not at this point, but I am on the verge of doing that. So I have an appointment coming up, and I'm open to it, and I'm willing to do it. This is a sidebar. Actually, so as we this is about sex. So as we age, our vagina, the moisture is going to change. Like it'll be
Mhm.
dry, and if you have sex, it'll start to be annoying and bothersome. And I want to keep that up. So I'm going to go on estrogen to help with vaginal dryness, among other things. But I'm not on it. That's the answer. But I am going to be.
What do you think about plant-based estrogen creams and all of those things that I see on the internet?
Yams and stuff. So the with the like the wild yam cream and all that. So
Jams and all that, yeah.
yeah. So what I'm gonna say is that that's not my area of expert. I'm gonna say three things. That's not my area of expertise, so I can't really speak on that because it really is like depending on what's going on with you.
Mhm.
Those are the type of questions that can be addressed within the community because those are the experts that I bring in. I got the food on lock, but I bring in experts because these are questions people ask me.
I'm coming
But
up in your community, Robin. I'm kicking the door in, okay? Let me find out. I was like, I did not know this. Forget the rest of y'all. Every man for himself and God for us all. I'm trying to
but
get.
yeah, that's the answer to that is I make sure that those resources are available so that you can get the answers to that. And actually, our next class that's coming up, we only do the live classes quarterly, but our next class is coming up. That is exactly what she's going to talk about is the plant-based alternatives and what else can happen. That's
Mm,
exactly the topic because our last class was about bioidentical hormones. And so now we need to have the other side of that so that people can decide what makes sense to them because it's nothing's biased. It's like this is the information and then you can decide what makes sense. And the beauty of it is you can ask these experts.
Do you
I mean,
have access to replays? Because I'm in surgery season with my son, and so I
yeah,
don't know if I'll be able to, but if I joined, would I have access to the previous replays?
absolutely. We have the replays. So the way that it goes, just so you all know with the community, and I'm always evolving to make it better. But when you're a part of the community, the first thing you get is the nutrition plan. And then you get the access to classes on demand. So classes that we had before with experts before the
Mhm.
people came in, and you get to watch those on demand. And then we have the live classes where the experts are coming in and we're on Zoom. And then you get to, if you're there live, ask them questions. And some people are like, I can't make it, but please ask this question for me. Then I
Mhm.
make sure that I do that. But these experts are phenomenal experts. And getting this access to them is just so covenant because you can just talk to them like we're talking today. So, but yes, all of the classes are on replay. Yeah.
Wonderful. And yeah, about the hormones, I am not on hormones, but I also wanted to add that I'm not averse to it. I have women in my family who were on hormone replacement therapy for
Mm,
years, and I've had a lot of conversations with them about their specific experiences just to have an idea. I'm not
mhm,
averse to it based off of the information that I have researched for myself. But yeah,
mhm.
I'm not. Okay, so there was a question in the comments from Lisa. She said, I get specific cravings tied to sugar, salt, fats. Is there a reason for that? I'm 69, way past my menstrual days and perimenopause. I have to be intentional about how I eat to keep them from being a major part of my diet.
Yeah, so the for sugar, the more we eat, the more we crave. And
Mhm.
so part of the sugar remedy is actually, which is crazy, but if you go 10 days without it, then your body will stop craving it. So the more produce you put in your body, the more your body will start to crave not those things. But the minute we give in, then it's like starting the cycle all over again. What I do also is I run a thing where we just do 10 days every month when we're not having the sugar and all of the processed foods. 10 days, because again, that resets the palate. And then we all crave those things, though. I'm telling you, it's still a hormonal thing. Even if this is the thing, you have hormones, they just aren't the same. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to have these desires and these cravings. It is a part of who we be. And there's times where you give into those cravings. That's also part of my recommendation is I always have a day or days, depending, where I'm just like, okay, that's what I'm gonna give into. This is intentional. Sometimes I'm intentional about eating really well, and then sometimes I'm intentional about I'm gonna have whatever it is I'm gonna have. The better your diet is, the less you will crave the things. So,
Yeah, correct. I also can chime in and say that I don't eat sugar. Um,
mhm.
I stopped a long time ago because the way that this joint pain and it bothers my system. And if I put a sugary anything in my mouth right now, it is such an intense experience. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. Anything like cake, donuts, soda. It's like my palate, like she said, is acclimated to not having the sweetness, and things that I used to eat before that felt tasted normal or just sweet are like overpowering. So it does reset and you kind of lose the taste, sugar specifically. You
Mhm.
lose the taste for that, and it really your mouth or like your brain is like, whoa, that's super sweet. So that's
Sweet.
been my experience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I saw one more thing here in the comments.
And let me say this too. So I don't
Go
eat
ahead.
sugar. Well, I don't have sugar in my household, but if like I said, I'm still in this chocolate cake thing. So if if I want something at some point, I will have it. But I don't own sugar in my house. But what I do use is monk fruit, stevia
Mm.
to
Yeah, I use
sweeten
stevia.
things, stevia to sweeten things. So, and then I've just my palate, right? If I do have something, it's just super sweet. My palate has just been trained, but it's taken 20 years to train it. So, but yeah, we might have to have one more question, y'all, because I gotta.
Yeah, that's
Go
fine.
ahead.
There aren't any more questions. It was just I thought it was a question, but she was just making a comment about the leg cramps and it seems to be inherited. Me too. My
Yeah.
mother and my brother have debilitating leg cramps, and so do I. Joy, joy. I solved mine with
Mhm.
understanding salt and electrolytes and magnesium and how it works in my body and how it's affecting my muscles and my parasympathetic nervous system. And so I do not have leg cramps anymore. Um, if I slack on it, just like I told you with my mom, if I'm not intentional, it's on and popping. Okay, I'm trying to sleep and the leg cramps are doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I definitely think some people, I don't know if you know this, Rob, but I definitely think some families can have a propensity toward it when it
Yeah.
comes to like water consumption and how salt interacts with your muscles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get really bad. I'm talking about like gripping the bone, feeling leg cramp.
What I love and what I want to say to everybody is that be your own advocate, because when you are, as Rashi was saying about her knowing her body and then having natural remedies to do that, if you take every issue to a doctor, they're likely to try to prescribe you an anti-inflammatory or some type of a medication. And then once you start going down the medication rabbit hole, and I ain't anti-medication because there's some stuff that we need medication for, but there's also things that we're offered medication for when that's not necessarily the solution. And there, pharmaceutical and medication it's so profitable, and so there's a reason why we are offered it, a lot. And then doctors, beautiful, needed medicine is so important. They're not nutritionists. They don't study that. I mean, traditional medicine, that's not what they study. They study medications and so we just won't go down that. But I just want to say to everybody, just be very research for yourself, be understanding that this is your body and nobody knows you like you do. And intuitively, if you just stop and listen, sometimes somebody's telling you something and you intuitively know that ain't right, but you may think, oh, but they're the experts. No, you the expert.
Hmm.
You the expert in the core gut of your soul. You're seeking out advice and information. But when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And when you are seeking something, the answers will come to you. But you have to, I'm like on this intuitive side, you just got to listen to what is within. So spirit
I
will guide
love
you.
that. Thank you so much, Robin. Okay, so first of all, I agree with her. You are an expert on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Robin
Yeah.
has given us so much great information. You can find her at necessarynutrition.com. When
Hyphen
you
in
go to
there too. Yeah.
hyphen
Yeah.
necessary hyphen nutrition.com, when you go to her website, you can find more information about some of the things that she's told us, her free class that you said you have a freebie out
Yes,
there,
I do.
all
I
about
do.
hormones, right?
It's all about, it goes more in depth into the food. So
Mhm.
it talks more in depth, kind of like what we talked about today, but it gives you more of the foods, the list of foods. And then it goes more into um, a little bit more directed in what more of what we were talking about today. So that's on the
Awesome.
website. And it's just about how to stop, pause from disrupting your life, really. So,
That's
and it's a class on
wonderful.
demand. So y'all can go watch it right now if you want to.
Perfect. She also, like she says, she has a community, which I'm gonna kick the door in a few minutes. I'm gonna go out there and see where I listen. Robin, every man for himself. Okay, I'm trying to find my own healing. Um, you can also find her on YouTube. Okay, binge her information. She is really consistent about putting up great content. I have subscribed. You should too. You can
Thank
find her on Instagram um, at Nessie Nutri. It's on the screen. Links to everything that I have mentioned is in the information box on whatever platform you are watching on. And as usual, if you would like to work with me, Roshini, as your coach, thepineapplecrowns.com is how you find me. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing, Robin, before we leave?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. And my prayer is that you all that are listening have just garnered some information in some way, that you're blessed by Roshini's channel, and then hopefully you'll hang out with me as well, if applicable. But thank you again. And I just want to say, eat well, think well, and be well. That's it. Thank you.
Love that. All right, Robin. Bye, you guys. Be well, be encouraged. I'm surrounded. Here's a surrounding of pineapples. All right. Bye, y'all. Robin, hang out for